Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up with a special guest here. We start our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center, corner of Baldwin Road and Highway 77. They produce a lot of really good nurses out of the program there, so run by and check out that nursing program. Today's high is going to be 74. It's creeping back up there a little bit, and low's going to be 54, so maybe get back a little bit of spring weather. Water temperature dropped 1 more degree down to 68, but it's right in that temperature range that we like it. It was 70 a couple of days ago, then 69, now 68, but that's not really a pattern. It's going to hang in there. River readings. Folks, can you believe the 21.3, the Apalachicola, and it looks like it's staying there for a good while. You need to get those campers out of Howard's Creek and all on all that lowland. Y'all get those campers out of there if you haven't got them. But we talked about this yesterday, how high it has been for such a period of time. Choctawhatchee, Caryville, it's reading a 13.6. And it's going to be high right next to flood stage, so be real careful if you're running those rivers and all at a fast speed. You got to look for floating objects. It can be real dangerous and all. Now, a tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Their motto is "When Caring Counts." They're located right here on 23rd Street. Good folks down there. We're going to have sort of neap tides. We have a low tide at 3:55 a.m. and a high tide at 8 p.m. It's only a 0.8-foot range, so not a lot of tidal flow. And our wind now is going to be coming out of southeast at 5 to 10, and we've had a northwest at 10 to 20 for 3 straight days, so it's going to swing around, come out of southeast at 5 to 10, so that's going to give a little bit of warm air and keep that warm water in here too. So should be a good day to be on the water, really. All right, let's take our break. Listen, we're not going to be able to do our Blue Water Outrigger call. Captain Blair Morgan, my dear friend Blair, he's in Bay Medical undergoing some tests and all, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers. So we're going to just try to get a report later on. Let's take our break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and welcome, Lieutenant Stan.
Good morning. Good morning, Winston. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. I told Stan when he came on, it's so nice to have Stan on. He has so much information and all. We normally run out of time before we get it all done, but it don't take a lot. Another thing, a bonus when Stan's on, it don't take. Last night I didn't spend a lot of prep time getting ready for Stan because he's got so much stuff. So let's get started. What's going on?
Well, Winston, our spring turkey season is winding down. So for those that have not killed a bird yet, or kill one bird, you got a bag limit of 2. The season will end Sunday week, so need to be thinking about that.
Well, let me stop right now and congratulate you on your turkey season.
Well, I appreciate it. I've been blessed and fortunate. I went 3 times and killed 2 birds. So
that's pretty good odds. That's pretty good odds in any outdoor activity.
Well, I'm fortunate. I drove down to Central Florida and went on one hunt, and it rained about 4 to 5 inches the evening I got there, and I was in a motel and it raining and lightning, and I said, man, I think I have just wasted some time and effort and money, but and it even rained on me when I got up in the morning, rained when I went and built a little blind on the edge of this clearing, and the turkey, I still was able to call up some turkeys, and I killed a nice gobbler. I killed an 18-pound gobbler on that trip.
We showed that picture and also the other one, but I was going to ask you on that particular Osceola hunt. Did you know the area you were going to, or had you?
Yeah, I've been there before, Winston, and it's an area that's got a lot of birds. Very controlled hunting that they don't issue a lot of permits. Mm-hmm. I probably shouldn't even have gotten a permit because when I applied like everybody else. I don't have any special in. I found out that I wasn't picked, and so they notified me that I was like 6th in line, which meant I wasn't going to get a permit. But enough people ahead of me did not purchase their permit, so I checked 2 days before the deadline. I just decided to check, and I got a permit and had a wonderful hunt, and right by myself, but killed an 18-pound bird on that trip, and went back, had met some nice people down in that area. And the guy there that I get a room from, he tells me just leave my money on the counter when I leave, and he said if I'm not there, he said nobody will bother it. And I said, man, there's nowhere like that left in the United States.
You must have gone to Mayberry.
Yeah, it must have been Mayberry. I didn't think about it, but you're right.
And then the second one, you come back home and go back to your home place or home county?
Yeah, up in Jackson County, there's a farmer, a friend that's got some property, and he has graciously allowed me to go. And I actually went and missed a bird. My second trip going, I had a bird to come in quiet, and sometimes for those that turkey hunt, they don't gobble all the way to you. Sometimes that'll happen, but more often than not, when you hear them and they respond to you, then they become very quiet. And they'll walk in, particularly an old bird will walk in, and he'll just show up. You won't even know he's coming. He'll be so quiet. It's like almost like a vapor. They just appear out of nowhere, and they're looking for you. And if you're moving, if you're looking the wrong way, move your head, they'll see you. And that's what happened. And the bird got behind some stuff, and I rushed my shot, and I missed him. Well, I went to another part of the property last week, April Fool's Day, and the bird gobbled one time on the roost. He gobbled twice at 7:30, an hour later, and then an hour and 10 minutes later, I'm getting ready to move, and I put my gun in my lap, and it's just before 9, and I'm sitting there about ready to call it a morning because I had to get back to work. And all of a sudden he gobbled, and I felt like my hat jumped off my head. He was so close. And he was probably not more than 50, 60 steps from me when he gobbled. And he was looking for me. And by the time I could get my gun to the knee, he gobbled again. And and then when I saw him, Winston, he was probably 25 feet from me, and I shot him at about 15 steps. But it was a wonderful bird. He had 1.5 inch spurs. He had 10 3/4 inch beard, 20.5 pounds. It's not the biggest bird I've ever killed. I actually killed one heavier bird on Eglin, but it was just a fine bird. And I was very fortunate.
All right, we're going to pull up a picture in a second, and this is one we're talking about. That's a big one right there.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, and he had been apparently this bird was, I guess, 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, but he had one pellet that was not my pellet in him. I found one pellet that had been there a while,
really?
And it was a number. Obviously, it was a number 4 pellet. I shoot number 5s, and the ones I shoot are copper-plated pellets. So it was obvious that somebody else had shot him sometime a year or 2, 3 years ago. Who knows? But anyway, but he was a pretty smart bird, made for a good hunt.
Oh, good story there. 2 out of 3 not bad on turkey hunt.
Well, yeah, I was very fortunate and, like I say, and blessed.
And then your partner, Ken Peppermore, he limited out too.
Ken notified me that he said, stick a fork in me, I'm done.
That's right.
So he was done, and Ken's he's a good turkey hunter, and we swap stories.
Well, y'all give the FWC a good reputation of being good outdoorsmen like that.
Well, thanks very much.
They would give y'all bonuses for displaying.
Now that's a good idea. A bonus. Now that's a good.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So here with Stan Kirkland. Always have a great time when Stan's on, and it gives us so much information. Now we finished bragging on you. Now let's get back. I'm real proud of you in the turkey hunt, but now let's get to the commission meeting. Right. And I told you I get asked all the time about red snapper, and I don't know a lot of the answers. So let's tell us some things about red snapper.
Well, Winston, the commission is meeting. Our commission is meeting next week over at Havana near Tallahassee, and one of the things that's on the agenda is the red snapper season. Now, as an agency, we can only set the season for state waters. We have no control over or real impact on NOAA. I should say control as far as the setting of the season in federal waters for red snapper. But let me tell you what is on the table, what is proposed. We have proposed as an agency a season, red snapper season, that would start the Saturday before Memorial Day, which is May the 24th, and run through July 14th. That's a 52-day season. It's a little longer than last season. That is for state waters, and that is proposed. Now the commissioners I have no idea what the commissioners will do, but that's what the proposal is from staff to our commission. What's happened though recently, and I know you know this, is that there was a lawsuit filed by commercial fishermen against NOAA, essentially saying that the red snapper fishery is not being managed correctly, that the red snapper fishery is being overfished. The judge sided with that group, and so what will happen as a result of that? In other words, he's told, essentially with his decision, he's put this back in NOAA's court, saying that the fishery is overfished. So we don't know what is going to happen. Tomorrow, Friday, there is a conference call, and I think anybody can get on the conference call that wants to. It's you can go to NOAA's website and you can listen in. The administrator for NOAA for the Southeast is going to be discussing the red snapper fishery, and I think what their ideas and proposals are. So things are very fluid right now. I wished I could tell you it's going to be this with certainty, but until NOAA makes a decision and until our agency has a chance to meet next week and then enact the rules, we won't know. But you'll know, and so it's going to be the middle or end of next week before we know for sure.
Now, will that be something definitive by the end of next week?
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, our commission is, they have to go ahead and take action next week. They're going to have to decide. So, at least for state waters, we won't know what the season is for federal waters until NOAA makes that announcement.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
Right.
The proposal is still for a 2-fish bag, 16-inch minimum size limit. Of course, there are a lot of big fish out there. I know I've seen the photo with you and Chip, and that you have on your Facebook page, and those are exceptional fish. A lot of people are talking about how many fish. They estimate between 40 and 60% of the red snapper fishery is taken off Florida. In the entire Gulf of Mexico, that we account in Florida for as much as half of that whole fishery is comes from Florida waters. And that's a lot of fish.
Well, interesting enough, when I was doing research in my book, Stan, I realized that the only picture of a fish I put on my cover was a red snapper, because back in the early 1900s and all, that was a money fish. That's what everybody loved to catch, and that's why they loved to eat at the seafood restaurants.
Right.
The red snapper has been around forever. That's for a fisherman.
And we use GPS technology today. We use all of this sophisticated electronic gadgetry to get to spots. And how did they do it? They would leave. They had a sail. Of course, later they had mechanized boats. But
they just tried to find good bottom.
That's right.
Good bottom.
That's exactly right.
It's fascinating how they did it.
It is. It is.
But red snapper, the common denominator is that red snapper has been there. Of course, have a lot more people here fishing for them now than we did back in the early 1900s.
Right.
So it's fascinating.
It is.
So, all right. Let's move on. Now, what else we got?
Another thing they're going to take up, now this is speaking of saltwater or marine rules or marine interest, they're going to be talking about the Gulf Reef Fish, they're calling it the Gulf Reef Fish Data Collection System. We at one time had called it a Gulf Reef Fish Permit, but essentially it's going to be a free permit that we're asking fishermen. We're going to be requiring fishermen that want to fish for reef fish. It can be anything from snapper to grouper to amberjack to triggerfish, vermilion snapper. If you intend to fish for those species, you need to obtain this permit. And the reason is, when you obtain that free permit, it gives us a way to go directly back to you and say, how many fish did you catch? How many trips did you make? how many fish did you catch of this species and that? What was their, relative size, that sort of thing. And so it puts a lot more information in the manager's hands for the future.
Yeah, I really think that's a good idea. I know some people say, "Well, I said invasion of my privacy." That is managing our fishery. And we don't, as outdoorsmen, if we don't manage our fishery and help do it ourselves, then we're going to get rules like this from people that don't really know what we're doing. So now we have a chance for input.
And one thing that people don't understand is when you've just got saltwater licenses. First of all, there's a lot of people that never go fishing. And so when you do a sample out of several thousand, your target group is so small when you don't know if that particular group doesn't do that kind of fishing. So they're trying to increase the reliability of the data by being able to specifically go to those fishermen. And it's just common sense. It doesn't cost anything, and we're not charging for this. We can only charge if we go through the legislature. We're not doing that. All we're talking about is a free permit to say, hey, we need a way to get back in touch with you later. And you
can look at our history in the outdoors and all that. The redfish, that almost collapsed. It collapsed before we were able to do anything because we didn't have some good input on it as outdoorsmen. And look at ducks. I mean, banding of ducks and all that. Look how healthy the duck population is now because we were able to manage it, and we reported the bands in. When we shot one down and all, they knew the migratory route over these years and all.
And hunters bought into that.
They did,
and they paid for it with their stamps, with their duck stamps, and they bought into the system, and they complied. And then there was a conversion from lead shot to steel shot and all these other non-toxic shot. And that's a great example, Winston. You're well read, but that's a great example of sportsmen conservationists putting their money where their mouth is and managing species or providing money for
and we have just enjoyed one of the most productive duck seasons we've ever had, and and that's one of the reasons right there.
And also we had it was extremely cold north of us, so that helped.
Okay, all right, let's take our final break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So here with Stan Kirkland with FWC. Let's look at our fishing game forecast today, brought to us by Mark Coward at Edgewater Beach Realty, 832-6000. Give Mark a call on any of your real estate needs. Our time today, 9:15 a.m. to 11:15, and late this evening, really tonight, 9:37 to 11:37. I'll be in bed, but if you want to go try to find something, it'll be a good time to go. All right, Stan, we're on the road now. We've got to keep going.
All right, let's talk about lionfish for just a minute. We've got most people, if you've seen them before in the aquarium trade, but if the commission has before it a proposal to essentially work with DAX to ban lionfish from being brought into Florida in the aquarium or aquaculture business. That's one thing on the table. Another thing is to allow people who use rebreathers, these divers that do you know what a rebreather is?
That's the thing.
When they go down, when they go down in depths, and it allows them to recycle the air and get all of the oxygen out of that air. Anyway, there's a rule that says you can't, if you use a rebreather, you can't spearfish. Well, what the commission's going to do, or the proposal is to change that to where you can, if you use a rebreather, you can spear lionfish because we want people to get rid of them. And by the way, they're good to eat. You have to, fishermen know this, and that's one of the things there now. Actually, some restaurants are serving lionfish. And the last thing is they're going to be, the proposal is to allow some zones right now where you cannot spearfish and remove lionfish that you'd be able to. Examples would be like some around bridges, jetties, some state parks in Florida. But there's a caveat to that part, and that is before a contest is held, and this would only be a sanctioned contest, before that contest or event is held, they would have to get the park or the whoever is a controlling interest, they'd have to get their approval. So they can't automatically go to a state park and start spearing fish. That's not what this rule says. But under certain conditions, they'd be allowed to. So anyway, but that's those are the major marine things. A lot of discussion. Again, that'll be at Havana next week if anybody wants to see it.
Okay.
Okay,
All
or
right.
go over.
All right. You got anything else?
Winston, just a couple of things. I've talked about this before, but the commission is going to be looking at and for hunting, they're going to be looking at the final rule. This will be the final part of business on the deer management unit process. Deer management unit 1, we've talked about this for deer, is south of the interstate. Deer management unit 2 is north of the interstate. They're talking about putting in a regulation that says 2 point, the illegal deer must have 2 points on the side south of the interstate, 3 points on the side north of the interstate, or a 10-inch main beam. But essentially, this is just to protect and give deer at least another year to survive. We're also going to change the antlerless days a little bit. 4 days probably antlerless days south of the interstate, probably 8 days north of the interstate.
Okay.
And the reason is hunters said they wanted to see more deer, and we're tweaking the rules to allow that. Okay.
All right.
And Winston, the last thing, I know time is short. The last thing is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has notified our agency that there is a good possibility that we can increase the dove season in Florida from its current 70 days to 90 days.
Wow.
So what we've done as an agency is to poll migratory bird hunters to see if we get 20 additional days, where would you want to see those days? And this is not as much a biological thing as it is a sociological thing. So what we're doing as an agency is trying to figure out where do they want those. There's a proposal to go to the commission, and basically what hunters have said is add some days to each zone. So likely, if this is done, that it will be to increase the season and open it, like for instance, a week earlier, perhaps 2 weeks, but all of that will be worked out later.
That sounds good. Dove, you know, you were raised on dove hunting. A lot of fun.
Yep, a lot of hunting and fun sport.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of information there, Stan.
Thanks, Winston. I always enjoy being on the show with you.
Well, we always appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Winston.
And good luck
appreciate
to you.
It.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Again on those turkeys. That's
well,
a great
thanks.
job.
I appreciate it.
And folks, as always, now if you have any questions, call Stan FWC. We'll be glad to answer your questions and all, and we'll try to keep you informed on all this information. You be sure today and do something good for somebody and help out other people, and always enjoy the great outdoors, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.